guys, how's it going? In this video, I want to share 7 of what I think are the easiest succulents to grow inside in containers. Varieties that are great for everyone, especially beginners. But before I get into the video, I want to give a huge thank you to Espoma for partnering with us on this video. I highly recommend both their cactus soil mix and their cactus and succulent plant food. I've been using both of them for years. You can find them at your local garden center or online. So let's just jump right into the list. The first one is the Haworthia fasciata or zebra plant. This is probably one of the most low maintenance succulents I have ever taken care of before. They can handle low amounts of water and low amounts of light, which are 2 of the main reasons I think that we fail with succulents so often inside. I do find that they're very adaptable as well, though. I've used these a lot in mixed arrangements with other succulents in different kinds of light situations where they get a lot more and they do equally as well. I love the way they look. I love their really stiff leaves, the kind of color variations that each leaf has, like the contrast of the white striping to the green background, and I just like their tidy overall appearance. You hardly ever have to groom these. The second one is the aloe vera, which also stay nice and tidy. There's not much grooming involved in the care of this plant. You can harvest parts of the leaves or entire leaves off if you want to use them medicinally, like for burns or scrapes, rashes, that sort of thing. Or you can just have them sitting around your house because they look pretty, which is kind of how I use them. These like to be put in the brightest spot you can give them, not right up next to a window, like touching the glass, because that can damage the leaves, but in a very bright spot. I've had one living on my kitchen windowsill for several years now, and it does really well. I water it about every 2 to 3 weeks, and they seem to respond really well to that sort of schedule. I love the thick, strappy leaves that this plant has. It also is great in mixed arrangements because it adds a really interesting vertical element, and I like that they stay more compact. They don't grow super fast, so you don't have to repot them very often. Number 3 is the Panda Plant or Kalanchoe tomentosa or kalanchoe, depending on the region where you live. I love the way these look. I think that they're so beautiful, especially in mixed arrangements, because I always feel like everything I put together needs to have a little touch of blue. These have really kind of chubby leaves with that cool blue color and little chocolate colored tips on all the leaves, and then they've got little fine hairs all over them that are white. So they're just a very unique looking plant. And there are a lot of other varieties too, like Black Tie that has a little bit bigger leaves, and then Chocolate Soldier, which has more of a olive green kind of chocolate kind of appearance. The really great thing about Panda plants is that they thrive in dry conditions, which is really hard to find in plants. Most houseplants in particular want more humid conditions. These actually thrive on the opposite. Number 4 is the Crassula Jade, and I love this plant. They're really easy to find. There's a ton of different varieties. In fact, I have 3 right here. There's the Crassula ovata minor. This one's called E.T.'s Fingers, and then I have a lemon and lime right there. So you can really get them with lots of different variety of colors within the leaves and different structures. They do like a very, very high light situation, so they want to be put in your brightest window. But what I think is great about this plant is that they're extremely forgiving in the watering department. They actually will tell you by the way they look when they need a drink. So when it gets a little bit too dried out, the leaves will start to pucker, and it's very easy to spot. Then you give it a drink, the leaves will soak in the water and expand, fill back in, and look as good as new again. You don't necessarily want to let them get to that stage, but it's a really good learning tool, I think, to learn. You know, you watch it and see how often those leaves start to pucker, and then you'll know how often you should be scheduling to water your plant. Number 5 is the Portulacaria variegata or rainbow elephant bush. I use this plant in so many different arrangements in so many different ways because it does get quite tall if you keep on bumping it up in pot size, that you can use it as a really wonderful thriller plant, so something that's tall and beautiful. You can also use it as a nice filler. I've also used this as kind of a spilling element coming out the sides. I'll use smaller branches and kind of tuck them in around other arrangements, and it'll kind of just grace the sides of the pot. So I think they're just so versatile. There is an all green variety as well, but I prefer this one because of the bright pink stems, and the leaves have a white and green variegation and sometimes a little bit of pink on the tips. So I think it's a very interesting plant. The thing that I think makes this a wonderful plant, especially for beginners, is that if you tend to be an over-waterer, if you tend to give your plants a little too much love, this one will be a little bit more tolerant of that extra water because they do have thinner leaves. It's still a succulent, but with those thin leaves, it can handle higher amounts of water. Next is number 6, and it's the Gasteria. And this looks very similar to the first couple of varieties of plants that we talked about. It has very stiff, upright leaves, and depending on the variety, they'll have different, like, interesting colors and patterns on them. This variety right here is called Flow, and it has very heavily textured, bumpy leaves, and the bumps are kind of a light green to white color. I love the tidy appearance of this plant. The great thing about Gasterias is they can go weeks without water. They can also handle lower light situations. So this is such a wonderful plant for beginners. And the last plant on my list is the donkey's tail or burrito sedum. I've had mine planted in this head planter for several years now. It gets an occasional trim either by me or by my cat Russell. This is the only plant that he bothers in our house because I think it dangles and it's interesting to him, but the plant just keeps on going. You do want to be a little bit careful with this one because the leaves are very fragile. It's a type of plant that you pot and then you just leave it. And that's why I included it in this list, because it's been so low maintenance. I haven't had to repot it and the plant has stayed happy. It does like a sunny spot, but can tolerate a little bit of a lower light situation, but the leaves won't be quite as blue. It might be a little bit more of a light green color. So that is my list of succulents that I think do really well inside. So if you are a beginner or if you just haven't had very good luck with succulents up to this point, I would maybe give one of these varieties a try and see what kind of success you might have with them. I would try to stay away from some succulents like the echeverias that are prone to stretch really quickly if they don't get enough light. I know it's really hard to stay away from those beautiful rosettes, but if you don't have the right kind of conditions, I would just avoid the stress. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful and we will see you in the next one. Bye.